Hey, welcome back to Not Yinz Father's podcast. I am Sean, joined here today by Corey, and today we're going to play Omar Khan in the Steelers draft room for a night, and we are going to be running our mock draft simulator 1.0 for the Steelers. Super excited to do this. We look forward to being an interactive tool for you guys throughout this offseason. Again, this is simulator 1.0. We'd like to get to the point where we are comparing simulators as we get closer to the draft, just to see how far we've come. Right now, a little less information. We don't know who the Steelers have met with outside of a few. We don't know the results of the combine yet. We don't know what the Steelers do in free agency yet. So we're going to give it our best shot. Today we're going to be using an interactive tool from Pro Football Network. Really cool. If you guys haven't already had familiarity with this, it's a cool interactive mock draft simulator that runs through the entirety of the NFL draft. You can draft as the Steelers as your favorite team. You can draft as multiple teams. Today, we are going to be drafting 7 rounds, all 7 rounds, only as the Steelers. We're going to be using the fast option so we can get through the picks relatively quickly. Today, for the first one, we are going to be reviewing trades, because that's another interactive tool that this simulator gives us, is it throws out hypothetical trades that other teams could potentially offer the Steelers. You may or may not get one for every pick, but there might be chances to trade back, acquire multiple picks. But for the sake of this simulator today, we are going to be sticking with the 8 current draft picks the Steelers have right now, which are round 1, pick 21, round 2, pick 52, round 3, pick 83, round 4, pick 122, round 5, pick 163, round 7. We have 3 choices here. We have 225, 238, and 247. So really cool. Really excited to do this, and really cool that the Steelers keep all the picks rounds 1 through 5, and then get 3 darts in the 7th round to play with. It'd be really cool to hold on to the draft picks going into next year, as next year Pittsburgh will be hosting the 2026 NFL Draft. Hope to see Yinz there. Corey, how are we feeling?
Feeling good, Sean. Definitely excited to get our first mock draft down. Steelers have 8 picks. This is a draft that we've talked about being super deep at, especially the positions that the Steelers need, being defensive line, running back, some wide receivers, those skilled positions, as well as it not being quite as deep as maybe we would like as far as maybe last year's or previous year's drafts at the corner position and safety. Although the high end of those positions, there's some great players available as well. You mentioned us not having a pick in the 6th, jumping from 163 all the way to 225 in the 7th. That's because we did lose that 6th round pick in the trade for Justin Fields with the Bears. Fields did not play or start in enough games this year for us to trade that 4th round pick. So that's huge. You never want to think that the player is not playing in the game because they're the best player, but rather because there's some chess going on in the front office with picks being retained or traded away. We won't know for sure, but it's a super valuable having that 4th round pick. So I'm excited. I'm ready to get started.
I am too. And we end up getting a steal in Mason McCormick in the 4th round, who ended up starting most of the year. I completely agree. Mason McCormick, huge value in the 4th round. So you really want to have round 5 and up. You want to have as many picks in the arsenal as possible. All right, let's get to it. Let's get into this simulator. Steelers. We're going to draft all 7 rounds. We're going to do fast, and we are going to be declining any offer that comes our way. We will talk about them. We will be persuaded by them, but we will not be accepting any today.
All right, without further ado, let's get going.
And there we go. So our first offer comes in from the Colts. They want to pick 21 and pick 247, and they want to give us pick 45, pick 80, 2nd round pick next year, and a 3rd round pick next year. I think a little enticing there. We also give up our last pick of the draft, 247. Another offer from the Ravens pick 27 and pick 59 for pick 21 and pick 122. So moving up into the late second round for our fourth round pick, and then moving back a little bit in the first round. Also enticing. There's a lot of guys in that top 60 that have caught my eye. These are all high quality offers. And lastly, the Rams offering pick 26 and their second round pick next year for pick 21 and again 247. The draft being in Pittsburgh next year, enticing, but today we say no to all of those. So let's see who came off the board, Corey.
Let's jump up here. First off the board, Abdul Carter.
My favorite player in the draft. I feel like he's the next TJ Watt of Myles Garrett, of Max Crosby, the next Micah Parsons, just relentless pass rusher that's going to give offensive tackles nightmares. The Browns getting their quarterback in Shadur Sanders. With their quarterback situation, a lot of money tied up there with Deshaun Watson. With the injury, with his honestly poor performance, this isn't a bad pick. Then we got Cam Ward, Heisman winner Travis Hunter going to the Patriots. Will Campbell, guy I really like. And there goes Ashton Gentry, the running back, going real early to Vegas there. Will Johnson, first corner off the board. Matthew Golden going to the Falcons. That's a good pick. The Bengals get no line help in Tyler Booker from Alabama. There's the second wide receiver off the board, Luther Burden from Missouri, going to the Broncos. All right, Corey, we're up. Let's see what we're left with. Top of the board for me, Sharon Ravel, a cornerback from East Carolina, who could be, we saw what the Eagles did last year, drafting secondary early, establishing that secondary. Could this be a guy the Steelers look at? Absolutely. But my eyes, another player, one of my draft crushes, Emeka Ibuka. I have him as my number 3 wide receiver in the draft. ESPN ranks him, and again, they rank Travis Hunter as both a wide receiver and a corner. If you exclude Travis Hunter, they have him at number 3, just ahead of Matthew Golden. Ibuka is a guy I'm enamored with. Who stands out to you, Corey?
Ibuka is he's a player that the Steelers sort of desperately need, a playmaker of his caliber. You know, the wide receiver free agency market has been pretty grim for a couple years now. The Steelers have not been able to move the ball down the field. It's hard not to justify what might be technically a bit of a reach. Maybe in some future mocks, we'll look into trading back a little bit, seeing if he's still there. They've got him projected around 33 right now. He's the 26th ranked player overall. It's such a glaring need for the Steelers. I think it's hard to justify going anywhere else. There are a lot of great names here.
If a guy like Ibuka wasn't there, those offers from the Rams, from the Ravens really would stand out to me, because there's a lot of guys in that late 20, early 30 range that are very worthy of first round picks.
How hungry at wide receiver are these teams that are currently picking after us? What's going to go down with these teams in free agency? Are they going to sign somebody, get rid of somebody that's going to let you know that they're definitely going to be targeting a wide receiver probably in the first round? Early to say, but I think hard to pass on Ibuka.
All right, so it sounds like we are in agreement. Let's go ahead and lock it in. Round 1, pick 21, Steelers draft Emeka Ibuka, wide receiver from Ohio State.
Got some trade offers here.
The simulator rolls on. Corey, what offers we got?
From Tennessee, they're trying to give us the 102nd pick for them, all the way in between the 3rd and the 4th round, as well as next year's 2nd round pick in exchange for our 52nd pick here and a 2026 7th round pick. Not a very enticing deal as far as
Not
I'm
at all.
concerned. I wouldn't even think about rejecting or accepting this one. And next up, lastly, from the Chargers, we're looking at trading our current pick, getting a little bit back, 30 or so places, 36 or 86. Next year's 2nd round from them, and next year's 5th. We really need this pick, so it's really not hard to think about rejecting these.
Couldn't agree more. Reject those instantly. Not as enticing as that first set of offers.
Nope.
So off the board, Mike Green, the Senior Bowl standout from Marshall. Man, he's climbing up some draft boards.
Yep.
The Ravens getting J.D. Barton from Texas. A corner, a safety, a do-it-all, a Tyrann Mathieu, and then the Bengals trading up to get Benjamin Morrison. Man, great pick there. Morrison, out for the 2024 year with a hip injury. Little unknown there. The Bengals do their homework, check him out. Great value there at the end of the first. Patriots selecting Isaiah Bond. So there's a receiver off the board. Bond, shifty, quick, started his career at Alabama. Wow, he is one of my favorite players to watch. He is electric. And then who we got, Corey? Who else stands out?
Jamar Stewart's a guy we've talked about, edge out of Texas A&M. Big, quick prospect, twitchy, great hands, good speed. Wyatt Milam, another great West Virginia offensive line product, like our own Zach Frazier.
Mm-hmm. It'd be nice to pair those two together.
Good chemistry with them. He's off to help protect Caleb Williams. Xavier Watts, a safety I'm pretty high on, similar to Makuba out of Texas to the Colts.
Turnover machine, Xavier Watts. I believe he led the country in interceptions, maybe not this year, but last year potentially. Also, Jack Sawyer, huge fan of his out of Ohio State. Edge rusher, mean streak. He was the guy that said no planting that Michigan flag on my territory. Captain Jack, big fan of his. Broncos, heck of a draft right here. All right, and where does that leave us? Who are the best prospects available? Jalen Milroe, the quarterback out of Alabama, poor Senior Bowl. His draft stock is sliding. Gray Zabel, a guy that probably translates, they say best to center in the NFL. He was an offensive tackle standout, North Dakota State, who's been producing offensive linemen like crazy. Then we got Deion Walker, huge D tackle from Kentucky, 340 pounds, 6'7". Makes Darnell Washington look small. And lastly, I see a couple. Caleb Johnson, huge fan of his, 6 foot 225, ideal running back size, the numbers to boot. Love me some Caleb Johnson. Love watching his film. But then there's the Ohio State guys, Quinshon Judkins and Trayvon Henderson. Can't go wrong with any of these three. But if you're the Steelers, you live and die by your big board. If it's my big board, the Steelers' big board, I think we'll have Caleb Johnson ahead of both Judkins and Henderson. So if we're going running back, I think it's going to be Caleb Johnson. Anybody stand up to you, Corey?
Caleb Johnson, probably the best running back prospect. He's who this ranking system has listed, probably who anybody would have listed next up. I do think that this draft, like most drafts, is somewhat deep at running back. There's a lot of diamonds that you can find in the later rounds, guys that haven't maybe gotten the looks or the touches requisite for, a ton of yardage or a bunch of opportunities. Guys like Jaden Blue out of Texas, or this Ja'Cory Croskett Morissette out of Arizona, two guys that we've kind of thrown around. They might be available later on, but there's always a possibility to double dip too. Running back free agency market's not looking great, similar to wide receiver now. So yeah, it's not a bad decision to take these guys that you're going to trust with getting you down the field. And that's really what the Steelers need to do. It's just invest in playmakers, guys that can get you first downs, convert, and draw players off the defense.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad shout. Anybody probably past 60, 65 is a bit of a reach. You'd look to trade back. I don't have a problem going with Caleb Johnson. I know so our defensive secondary, we're looking to get younger. Our defensive front, we're looking to get younger. But we could look at those. We also, we don't have a pick too far back in the third, so we could look to attack that position there.
Exactly.
Which direction you want to go here?
I think I'm locked in on Caleb Johnson. I think we're in agreement. Najee Harris heading to free agency. Will he be back with the Steelers? We don't know. And then Jaylen Warren, restricted free agent, most likelihood back with the Steelers next year. Restricted free agents, a little harder for them to navigate into free agency, and we believe in Jaylen Warren. This is not we need somebody better than Jaylen Warren. But in this league, brutal physical league, you need two running backs, and we have Cordell Patterson, free agent. We have nobody outside of Jaylen Warren. So yeah, even to double dip at running back, I like Caleb Johnson here.
Let's go with it. Welcome to Pittsburgh, Caleb.
Round 2, pick 52, Caleb Johnson, running back, Iowa. All right, simulator moves on. We have a trade offer, pick 83 for pick 86, as well as picking up a 6th-round pick from the Chargers next year. Yeah, we'll see who's available. I mean,
not a bad.
An extra pick is always nice,
yeah.
I guess. Then from Dallas, pick 83 and 247 will be going to them. We'll be receiving 150, their 3rd-round pick next year, and their 4th-round pick next year. If I didn't like the prospects after the first 2 rounds, that wouldn't be too bad. But I love this draft, and I like to stand firm, so we're going to say no thank you to those. Who stands out to you come off the board in the late second, early third?
Yeah, let's see here. Jackson Dart going to Vegas. They get their quarterback out of Ole Miss. Xavier Restrepo, a lot of speed, good hands out of Miami. There's your guy Makuba.
Oh,
Another safety that you like headed to Miami. We all know we got Minka from Miami. Maybe they'll give us him after his rookie year too.
Makuba hurts. It hurts my soul to not have him in a Steeler uniform. And then I also see Gray Zabel going to the Ravens. The Ravens' offensive line gets richer. I am a big fan of Zabel as well.
Here's the Jets upgrading from Aaron Rodgers to Jalen Milroe, despite having Jordan Travis on the roster currently. But a Mason Taylor, tight end we like from LSU, goes to New York.
And the Browns are the Browns. They pick Kyron Lacey. Is he going to jail? Will he suit up for the Browns? Is he the next Josh Gordon?
Nice job, Cleveland.
Yeah. Tez Johnson, a guy I like, going to Chicago there. Kevin Winston, a guy we've talked about a few times, hard-hitting safety.
Dallas gets their newfound Ohio State running back, moving on from Zeke, loading up with Travion Henderson, Scattaboo. Yeah, this is actually the second simulator we've run where Scattaboo ends up at the Patriots. I love how this algorithm has some things that just really fit and make sense.
Old school Patriot bias.
Jaden Higgins, good length.
Good pick there.
Yeah, good pick for Washington.
And then Belton, big offensive tackle from NC State going to Cincinnati. Always need help protecting Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
All right. What does that leave us, Corey? Let's see. Names that stand out to me. Oh, Jalen Royals. What a standout on tape. Jalen always open. Big fan. 5'11", 210. Corey did a real nice breakdown of the top receivers in the league. Pass catchers, yardage-wise. And today's NFL, Corey, what's the prototypical size of a receiver?
Got to be in between 5'11" to 6'1". Got to be, 190 to 210. And here he sits. He's going to be hard to bring down at that size, 210, 5'11", quick. I mean, this is a guy that fits right alongside Jamar Chase, and
agreed.
It's tough. We've got Ed Buka sitting here.
Maybe a little too early to double dip at wide receiver. So, Corey, I mean, I know you see it. There are some defensive line help that the Steelers desperately need to desperately get younger, need to get more physical, need to get more active on the defensive line. I see Jared Ivey. I see Shamar Turner. Ivey, 6'6", 283. And I saw something recently that said he actually played up closer to 290 last year. Big guy out of Ole Miss. Can definitely rush the passer. And he fits that mold of Steelers defensive ends in that 285, 295 range with some good pass rush skills. Shamar Turner, 6'4", 300 pounds, a little bit bigger, low center of gravity, wreaks havoc. How about Texas A&M? Two defensive tackles, both named Shamar. That's a name that stands out to me. Who stands out to you, Corey?
Well, I know you got this guy, Lathan Ransom, as well, kind of floating around your big board.
Oh, big fan.
We missed our chance at Makuba. We are looking to get into safety. I think you said Lathan plays a little bit more as a strong safety.
Hard-hitting, strong safety. Similar game to Elliott for the Steelers. Brings the boom. Sure tackler. I love him. I love him as a prospect. I'd love to have him on my team. Does he fit? Because he might be buried on the depth chart. You just put up a name there I'm a fan of. Zy Alexander. Quarterback from LSU, SEC corner size, 6'1", 192. He's going to be a day 2 pick based on film. He's somebody that's right there for the Steelers.
Yeah.
So we get 2 skill positions in the first 2 rounds. Corey, I'm thinking we got to get defense here. What about you?
Yeah, defense, we need to get younger in some key positions up front. And we're also missing some corners. I know we talked about maybe spending some big boy money and free agency on some corners.
Yes. Free agency had already happened, and we'll know more about where the Steelers have already spent some money, which will give us more indication of where the Steelers are looking each round in the draft. I'm hoping the Steelers pay some decent money for a little bit of secondary help to help out Joey Porter Jr. Dante Jackson, free agent. Cam Sutton experiment went fairly poorly this year. Rookie Beanie Bishop, undrafted guy out of West Virginia, stepped up, had some bad games, had some great games, 2 interception game. They want to see what he can do, but still need to address some secondary. So I'm torn here between secondary help and help up front, and I'm leaning towards help up front, even though this draft is stocked with defensive line talent.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna hinge on is I'm just looking at the depth at corner here. There is a bit of a fall off. Even like Kobe Bryant, I'm not sure he's ready to
A little thin.
come in and make immediate D1 impact. Yeah, he's a little thin. We're picking up next at 122. Hancock, a guy that could come in and make, year one rookie impact.
Quincy Riley, the guy I like out of Louisville. And then there's a guy on this simulator, and you've just played around with this a little bit. Under the safeties, there he is, Malachi Moore, sitting at 145, a player I'm familiar with and definitely on my radar. I have him, 6', 201, sure tackler, played all around the Alabama defense, stuck around after Nick Saban retirement.
Yeah, remarkable 7 interceptions last year.
Just all over the field. He's a guy at 145. I think he's ranked a little low. We're going to hope he slides to 122, Corey. I know we're both a big fan of his. So how do we feel? As much as I like Ivy, I think here I would lean either TJ Sanders or Shamar Turner. We haven't really talked much about Sanders because I prefer Turner over Sanders at this point, but how are you feeling?
I'm good with maybe hinging on Malachi to fall. The Steelers do need more interior defensive line coverage than edge. We've got Herbig coming up the ranks.
Howard Cross, another guy, and then CJ West and JJ
Peegs. Yeah.
Thank you. And Riley Mills in there.
Yeah, Riley Mills, Howard Cross.
So a lot of D-line talent there. Clock is ticking. Who are we taking, Corey?
I would like to probably wait on some of these D-line guys. Ivy, I mean, he's sitting right there, 83. We're 83.
Let's lock that in. Let's get Jared Ivy.
Let's lock it in.
I'm looking at the ESPN best available list. They have Ivy ranked as high as 38 on here. So incredible steal at 83. Again, the simulator's not perfect. Obviously, this is pre-combine, but Jared Ivy, what do we say he weighs, Corey?
Close to 3. He's right around 300, 290.
So round 3, pick 83. The Steelers get Jared Ivy, defensive end out of Ole Miss.
Looking down here, we got Jalen Royals, a guy that we're pretty high on, 89 to the Chargers. Shamar Turner goes 90. Jack Beck, I know you like Jack Beck.
Big fan.
Right at 92. Zy Alexander, who we were fiddling with picking.
Kobe Bryant going to the Lions. Will Howard and Quinn Ewers, back-to-back quarterbacks. The Browns double dipping at quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Classic.
The Browns have never been a great drafting team. Sorry to the Browns fans out there. Oh, there goes Malachi Moore.
Mm-hmm. Ransom and Moore back-to-back.
Hancock after that. So we got to pray that we can still get our hands on a decent DB here shortly.
Yep.
on Jones. So who does that leave us, Corey? All prospects available. Tight end, probably a little too early. A couple edge guys. Jamal Morton, junior linebacker. Quincy Riley, guy I'm very familiar with. I have really liked his tape out of Louisville. And then a lot of D-line prospects, Howard Cross, as well as Jordan Phillips.
Louisville, a team that's got some good wide receiver prospects, too. So you got to figure Quincy has had some great practice.
Yeah, going up against the guy that we really like, Ja'Cory Brooks, transferred from Alabama. Practice every day. 2 interceptions this year. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Quincy Riley. 3 interceptions in 2023, 3 interceptions in 2022, 5 interceptions in 2021. Career interceptions. I mean, let's racking them up. 15 career interceptions in college out of 5 years. Pretty impressive.
Seen a lot of the field. Not somebody that's coming in under-repped. We need that position.
I'm happy that at least one DB slips to us here in the 4th to give us that option at least.
Yeah, not a bad option. DT, you still got Howard Cross here. I mean, this would be another great pick. And again, the Steelers, who also could really use a veteran defensive tackle, somebody 26, 28. If we're in free agency and the Steelers haven't made a move, a guy like Howard Cross is probably going to be where the direction we go right now. But I think just what we're looking at, Tonka Hemingway, a guy we've kind of touched on in episode 1, he might be down there. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take our chance with Quincy Riley here.
I love that pick. ESPN ranks him as the 77th overall prospect, 8th ranked corner on their list, 6', 195. Round 4, pick 120, Quincy Riley, cornerback, Louisville.
Okay, a lot of picks, tough to tell who's been taken off the board. Probably easier to just look at who's left. But man, the peaks ripped off.
Oh, there he is. And CJ West, back to back. Looks like everybody had our idea of waiting till the 160s to get into the defensive tackle front. Hopefully there's still some names there that we can look at. So far, 2 skill players, valuable defensive end, edge rusher, and a cornerback to add to our arsenal. I think we're looking pretty good.
We're looking good.
So let's see who's available. Names that strike me, positions of interest I'm looking at. I see Seth McLaughlin, the center from Ohio State. He had a stellar year. Yeah, 6'4", 305. Ohio State, great offensive line, as well as Jake Majors, right below him from Texas. 2 quality centers. The Steelers get their center of the future, Nate Hairbag, not Nick, Nate Hairbag, injured last year. Will he resign? Will he come back? Other than that, they don't traditionally have a backup center or backup interior guy. So that remains to be seen, and those remain options. Jack Kaiser, Captain Jack, the linebacker from Notre Dame, as well as Nick Nash, the talented Triple Crown receiver from San Diego State. Corey, show me the best available D tackles at this point. Let's just see if there's anybody that's fallen. Off the top of my head, I see our boy Tonka Hemingway. Tim Smith, talented defensive tackle from Alabama. He intrigues me. Patrick Jenkins from Tulane.
It's been a bit of a run on defensive tackles here. A couple of guys we were looking at got just kind of taken out from under us. What are you thinking here at 163?
Tonka Hemingway is still there. The guy that we're liking on tape. Good size, 6'3", 290 pounds. I don't want to miss out on another defensive tackle. I want to get younger. I want to get better at the defensive line. Corey, how we feel about Tonka Hemingway?
I'm pretty comfortable with that. I mean, we've talked about this draft being pretty thick at defensive tackle. Here we are in the 5th, getting a guy that we like. Definitely able to get some reps year 1 and hopefully just continue to grow and hone his skills and be that every down starter that we're going to need in a couple years.
I agree. Without further ado, round 5, pick 163, Tonka Hemingway, defensive tackle from South Carolina. 6'3", 288. A little bit of a reach here. ESPN ranks him at 177. We're picking at 163, but we get that much needed D-line help.
Yep. Okay. Well, it's been a big leap here from 163 to 225. No sense in reviewing 80 players that have been taken off the board. I'm sure it's a lot of guys we were interested in. Let's not assume that the draft is over and out in the 7th. I mean, this is where you really make hay.
This is.
So right away, I'm seeing a couple of guys. Ja'Cory Brooks, we mentioned him, probably training with Quincy Riley, guy that we like. Caleb Ransaw, this is not a bad cornerback option. Had we not taken Quincy, maybe he would end up here.
Ransaw a little smaller though. Can play that slot corner role and did it well.
5'11", 196.
Pretty typical size. Man, he stood out to me at the Senior Bowl. He made a big play, kind of got his name up there, which got me diving into his tape a little bit. He stands out. He's sticky, a good tackler. He's always around the ball. I am a fan of that pick. I'm a fan of his.
Also seeing Jackson Hawes here. Great size, 6'4", 252. That, it's never a bad idea to get younger at tight end. Talked about Freiermuth maybe not living quite up to his contract. Maybe he doesn't see that type of positional competition with Darnell Washington. So, this might not be a bad pick to consider. Some more interior help on the line. Willie Lampkin here.
Yeah, the Senior Bowl standout. He had some pretty nice blocks. I know he's a little short. Yeah, 5'10", 270. But regardless, he will get drafted probably on day 3. Can't go wrong there. The tape backs it up. Tough kid. Where are we leaning, Corey?
Let me just pop over to the tackles here. Nothing really jumping out at the board.
My late round guys, they've all been taken already as far as the offensive tackles.
I think I'm leaning towards Lampkin here. Bransaw, Stackhouse as well. It just so happens that we've got those positions wrapped up currently. So, yeah, I think I'm going to pull the trigger here at 225 and give our offensive line. We're just going to continue to get younger there, maybe get a veteran tackle, free agent. So, yeah, I'm going to pull the trigger here at 225, Willie Lampkin.
Offensive guard. North Carolina, 5'11", 290 according to ESPN. 164 overall there, so we get some incredible position value here in the 7th.
Yep.
The simulator rolls on. Ransaw still there for the taking. So we pass on him twice. Is our guy Ja'Cory Brooks still there? And we've talked about a few times double dipping at running back. They're really going to make me choose between Ransaw and Ja'Cory Brooks. Can't go wrong. We have one of each. Ibuka comes in, day 1 starter. Quincy Riley should be good, solid depth. So when you're throwing a seventh round dart, like the Steelers like to do, you're looking at a guy that could potentially come in and earn some playing time on special teams to start out with. And I think that Caleb Ransaw could be that guy that goes from special teams standout, maybe even training camp standout. The path's open. Beanie Bishop, we need a little bit of help and competition at that slot corner position. I think I want to lock in Caleb Ransaw here, Corey.
All right, let's do it. I like it. Tulane had a great season.
Caleb Ransaw, pick 238, cornerback, Tulane.
Okay, here we go. Last pick of our 2025 season mock draft 1.0. Ja'Cory Brooks. That's a great weight, Sean. He's actually still on the board. So I'm going to think long and hard about him. We do need more depth at wide receiver. Another Nazir Stackhouse, a name that we brought up. He's still out there. And then Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt.
Interesting story there.
Interesting story. I mean, missed the season, was at Arizona, transferred, tried to go to Ole Miss. I think that was the year Judkins was there. Came back to Arizona, ended up sitting out every game but one of this season on some eligibility issues. Made the most of it and then gets invited to the East-West Shrine Bowl. Named the MVP, got a touchdown, didn't get a combine invitation. So he's a guy that could slip just based on just not having a ton of tape from this season. Had over 1,000 yards last year. So both he and Ja'Cory Brooks, the Steelers need threats. We need guys on the offensive side of the ball to get the ball down the field.
Agreed. And Corey, is your draft crush Jalen Blue? Is he still available?
I would have to assume Jaden Blue is still available. There he is at 473. This is a guy that he had 200 yards in 6 of his 11 games this year. Didn't have that many more yards beyond that. Was in a running back committee in Texas. Is young, kind of coming into this draft a year younger than some other running backs. But, I mean, he's got hips, he's got shoulders, he's got thighs. Like, this guy can get the ball down the field with it in his hands, make players miss. I'm really looking at a guy like him as an undrafted free agent. If he doesn't stand out and shoot up boards in the combine like I think he should.
A lot of interesting free agent options there. If we're not drafting one here, a guy I really like out of Michigan, well, both Michigan running backs really, Mullings being a little bit more of a bruiser. I am enamored with Donovan Edwards. He went down to the Senior Bowl. Yeah, 5'11", 215, great size. Showed more as a pass catcher. I mean, Michigan didn't use him, but the talent is there. There are a lot of running backs, and I hope the Steelers bring multiple options to camp. Let them battle it out. I'm just shocked at how anybody could let Ja'Cory Brooks last year, 61 catches, 1,013 yards, 9 touchdowns. Some pretty remarkable stats. Limited in action in 2023, 8 touchdowns in 2022. I know he's an Alabama transfer. He's got elite speed. So, Corey, I'm going to let you call it.
There's nothing wrong with more Ja'Corys. Brooks or Krosky-Merritt, I'd like to have them both. I think just, given the state, it's tough because the free agency market on both is not great. It's always going to be cheaper, I think, for running backs. I've looked ahead to 2026's free agent running backs. There are a number of guys coming out of their contracts. I think we roll with Ja'Cory Brooks here. We get Justin Fields, all the weapons he has. We've invested in the line. I'm feeling good about this pick. Number 247, Ja'Cory Brooks, wide receiver out of Louisville to close it out.
I love it. A little bit of everything in this draft. A couple double dips. The Steelers strike multiple holes. As we talked about before we started, we want to give this draft a grade. So let's start with Emeka Egbuka. For me, I'm a little biased. Draft crush of mine. I find myself watching his film a decent bit. A guy that's been mocked to the Steelers a lot. A name that makes a lot of sense. I give it an A+. You're more realistic, less biased. What do you give that pick?
I think that player at that draft pick, some might say it's a bit high. I think people have him around 30, but I think just knowing how desperately the Steelers need a day one caliber, pedigree, wideout guy, just to give a little air to George Pickens, give him some room to breathe. I'm going to give that an A. Not an A-, not an A+, but an A.
I like it. Caleb Johnson.
This is the pick here. I'm just sort of enamored, I guess, with this island of misfit running backs that are kind of later in the draft. there are a couple guys that we touched on in 2, 3, and 4 where we were looking at defensively. I'm happy with Quincy Riley at 122, so I'm not too mad about it. I think this pick, Caleb Johnson's a great running back. We do need a kind of an all-star at that position, I think. Fits in as a Steeler, doesn't really have to switch up the jersey color. I think I'm going to give this pick a B minus, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you in the B game. I wanted a running back high. He was my guy. We drafted Najee in the first round. Looking back, but this isn't a round 1 running back. This is round 2.
Mm-hmm.
Johnson has some really good tape. I'm leaning towards B plus, so I think that averages us out to about a B. Next on the list, Jared Ivey, big time defensive end out of Ole Miss. Combine invite, big, strong hands. I'm falling in love with the tape a little bit. Gets after the quarterback as a pass rusher. I already have it penciled in as a B plus on my end, possibly an A minus. Maybe I'm a little too hard on the pick, but B plus, A minus. Same thing.
Yeah, this is a guy I watched a couple Ole Miss games this year, particularly their Georgia game, and Notre Dame's was good, Ohio State's was good, Texas's was good, but whenever I watched Ole Miss's defensive front, they were just kind of a step above the rest, and Jared Ivey was the main reason why, I think. So this pick, I know we've got a lot of money invested into the position currently. This is going to be a guy that we're going to rely on for years and years to come. So I like this pick. I'm going to go give it, I think, an A, right down the middle A.
Let's roll with an A minus then as an average. You have convinced me. You have actually convinced me. I am up there in the A minus range, A minus range. So passing grade right now. Quincy Riley, really good size, really good numbers, good film, all around solid player. Kind of reminds me, years ago, I'm not talking about the Cam Sutton we saw last year, but Cam Sutton, when we drafted him out of Tennessee, was a mid-round pick. A guy, I really liked the tape. It was just, he stood out on tape, made plays. That's Quincy Riley for me. And we needed the position. So for me, Quincy Riley, that's a solid B plus. I'm a big fan of this pick.
Yeah, a little bit further back than around where we took Joey Porter Jr. Maybe he can grow up alongside him, and these could be two guys that are kind of mainstays in our secondary for years to come. So fingers crossed here. I think that this one, it's a little bit harder in this pick range to be certain. I would give this a B.
That's the consensus. B plus. We're somewhere in that vicinity. How you feel about Tonka Hemingway?
Well, I think for the players available at 163, I'm glad that we went defensive tackle, a position that we've all talked about looking to get younger at. I think he was, debatably the best player in that position at that time. So I'm happy with that pick.
Yeah, there was a huge string of defensive tackles off the board right before him.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit heartbreaking there, but that's the story of the draft. That's how the cookie crumbles. But we still get a guy that we're high on in the 5th round, Tonka Hemingway. I give it a B. Just a solid B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a guy, like we mentioned in episode 1. We could go after Javon Kinlaw from the Jets, South Carolina, Gamecock alumnus, to go kind of plug and play right alongside him and learn from each other. So I think I'm sitting at B on this one as well. Maybe even B plus.
Okay, I'm with you. Willie Lampkin, I'll let you touch on him. I'm a fan. We get really good value here. I'll let you talk about Willie Lampkin.
Yeah, value, the name of the game when you start getting into 5, 6, and 7. We've really invested into youth in the offensive line. I think this continues that trend wisely. I don't know if we're as thirsty at guard as we are at tackle. There really weren't many great tackle picks there. I think, fingers crossed, the Steelers go after a veteran tackle, maybe one of the Ravens in free agency. So I like this pick a lot. I think, having a good young offensive line is marketable around the NFL. You can market that to players. Joe Burrows, why does he walk around pissed off 24/7? It's because he's on the ground.
Exactly. Got to protect your most valuable pieces, and that would be your quarterback.
Why did the Eagles look to be so far and above the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? Yeah, their front four were younger and faster and stronger than the Chiefs' offensive line. So I like this. I would say I'm going to go, because of the value, I'm going to go A minus. I hope that we're not blowing too much smoke. I know we haven't had any C grades, but I'm going to go A minus here with Willie Lampkin.
I don't think we're going to see any C grades. There wasn't any position in the simulator where I thought, oh, we are hosed. I agree. Lampkin, B plus, A minus. It's a solid pick that I'm excited about. I'll move on. Caleb Bransaw. I'm excited to double dip at corner here. Bransaw sees some time in the slot. He's kind of a jackknife, can do it all. Had a really good year for Tulane. A guy I did not expect to be there at 238. For a seventh round pick, they were getting close to Mr. Irrelevant there. A guy that I would be comfortable taking in the sixth round if we had one. I give this pick an A.
I agree. Yeah, I think that this is a great position to double dip at, same as receiver. We've needed depth there. There were times last year, we were kind of just patching and band-aiding that position we have for a few years now. We want to get younger at secondary. We want to invest in the secondary. That's what we've seen. These Super Bowl winning teams, they've got elite secondaries, and Ransaw has great tape. He's got a lot of snaps. I like this pick. I'm going to go A minus.
And Ja'Cory Brooks, lastly, touch on the stats. Alabama transfer, really transitioned well at Louisville. Big year for him, 9 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards. How's this guy slip? I mean, stats don't tell you everything, but he gets open, he catches the ball, he finds the end zone. Almost a touchdown a game. Can't beat that. Good value. And at 247, really getting close to Mr. Irrelevant. It's hard for me to dislike this pick. I like it as much as the Ransaw pick. I mean, that's an A. These are guys that I had circled praying they fall to round 7, and they did.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I would even go as far to say A plus for Ja'Cory Brooks here. Yeah, I think he's going to fit right in with Emeka Egbuka, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson. I think this is a formidable receiving core that we're starting to talk about, not the old dusty receiving core that we've been witness to for the past few years.
Worst to first, baby.
Yep. And, I mentioned him in our episode 1, Colin Lacey, another receiver out of Louisville. He had 1,300 yards whenever Ja'Cory was at Alabama. So was injured this year. Yeah, I think we could get Colin undrafted. He would fit right at home with Quincy and Ja'Cory. It's not a far drive from Louisville to Pittsburgh. So
Good year for Louisville. I mean, why not?
yeah.
Talent transitions, wins transition. I mean, there's a reason so many Georgia defenders get drafted in the high rounds every year. You can't beat it. So
Yeah, chemistry is real too. So
it is.
overall, I think we're looking at A minus. I mean A.
Let's give ourselves an A minus. First simulator, I really like it though. A minus, be thrilled with in college. A minus, I am thrilled with for Mock Draft Simulator 1.0. These are some guys that could really help out the Steelers this year and long term. This would be a continuation of great drafts from Omar Khan. This would be year 3 of Omar Khan drafting at the helm. This would be a home run, in my opinion, similar to his other drafts. I'm with you, Corey. I'm excited. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was trial run mock draft simulator. Again, a great tool from Pro Football Network. Run your own simulators. Feel free. Hit us in the comments. We love to interact with Yinzers, especially throughout the draft process and free agency, the off season. If there's no football on Pittsburgh, we just like to make it as fun as possible. And we love the off season just as much as we love the regular season.
Yeah, follow along to see how this draft, our mock drafts, evolve throughout the course of the offseason as free agency commences and finishes. Our 2.0, 3.0, 3.5, and 4.0.
Coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon. Stick around. And yeah, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, comment, tell all Yins about Not Yin's Father's Podcast. We look forward to hearing from you.
Absolutely. Until next time. Thank you, Corey.
Peace.